Microsoft Flight Simulator dash 1.34.14.0.
Welcome everyone to Blue Skies, the Blind Aviator channel. You may be wondering what I am doing and hope everyone is doing well. Well, first off, I have some news here.
Good evening, Captain.
Actually, quite exciting news. If you're wondering, this is not P3D. This is
Avionics master
Microsoft Flight
Nose gear light on.
Simulator.
Left gear light on. Right gear light on. Engine number 1 fuel valve light open. Debut professional forms. Main column star side 20. Notepad 737 cockpit. Battery select ground power space. Pressed. Ground power on. Navigation on. Log amber panels preview. Electrical collapse 1 to 1 level 1. Left ram door light on. Right ramp lap. D. Bottom overhead expand 0 items. Cut off. Lights 1 to 1 level 1. Lamp right retract left fixed right fixed off button. Runway turn off left right turn off taxi light. Microsoft Flight Simulator dash 1.34.14.0.
Alright, now I've got that out of the way. And let me tell you, huge difference. Huge. Let me tell you, things are so much smoother here than they are on P3D. I will still be using P3D for the 777 and 747 from time to time, but yeah, I've definitely grown to liking MSFS and the about 4 days I've been using it. I'd like to give a quick shout out to my email list and those who may see this on any of the places you can find podcasts. And if you want to subscribe to my email list, it is
left master caution light off. Right master caution light off. Flight controls warning light off. Electrical warning light off. Anti-air warning light off. Hydraulics warning light off. Overhead warning light off.
Aviators.
Left master caution light on. Right master caution light on.
Boost.io. The link will also
left
be
fire warning light on.
in
Right fire
the
warning light on.
description.
Fire detection test fire flash overheat. Low fire light on. Left master caution light off. Right master caution light off. IRS warning light off. Left master caution light on. Right master caution light on.
So in
overheat warning light on.
today's
Engine number 1
video,
overheat light on. Left fire ample illuminated light on. Engine number 2 overheat light on. Right fire ample illuminated light on. Abu fire ample illuminated light on. Fire detection test neutral. Left fire forward cargo fire extinguisher test light on.
let me let this get done.
Left fire warning light
There we
off. Right fire warning light off.
go. So in today's video, I am going to go through the differences between
Left master caution light on. Right master caution light on.
setting
Overhead.
things up in
Left FMC light on. Right FMC light on.
this
Enter IRS
aircraft
position.
versus how things are done in P3D. And really there's not much different. The only thing you really have to do is align the
Engine number 1 reverser light on. Engine number 2 reverser light on. Engine number 1 control light on. Engine number 2 control light on. Engine number 1 alternate control light on. Engine number 2 alternate control light on. Flight controls low quantity light on. Flight controls standby slash rudder light on. Fuel pressure light on.
Toward the end of this video, you'll
Right
see
disengage
the
test selector
proper
on.
way
Amber
to
command.
do the approach.
Right disengage test selector off. Amber command B disengage light off. Right disengage test selector 2. Red command B disengage light on. Right FMC light off. Right disengage test selector off. Red command. Left master caution light off. Right master caution light off. Flight.
Heading out for my checks.
Alright, he's gone, so it should be quieter now. So, basically, the only real difference is I have to align the IRS myself. Like I said, I'll be showing you how to do that. And I'll be showing you how
West
to
Elton,
do
Illinois, United States.
the
0.8 nautical
approach.
miles. 75 degrees.
Now that I've learned what I wasn't doing. See, I even learn new things here. So, without further ado, let me get up to where I need to do the IRS position, or inertial reference. Position setup, and I will go from there. And before I get any further in this, you will notice when I take off, I know someone's going to make a comment about this. For some reason, First Officer Next, I know I'm jumping ahead, turns on and then turns back off both VNav and LNav. So I end up having to do both of those myself. But no big deal. I'll also be going over which windows I keep open at all times. So, let's get started.
Microsoft Flight Simulator dash 1. 737 cockpit rope debut professional high-end forms. Main row 2 star side 20 notepad column 2 5 of menu PMDG 730 menu PMDG 737 CDU edit red only multi-line selected selection removed. Refresh clear script edit blank. Microsoft Flight 700 debut professional forms. Main star side 20 notepad star side fuel 14,600 fuel edit blank 1 4 6 0 0 total fuel 14,598.3 pounds 2,179.1 gallons total fuel flow 0. Send minute ref button. Send edit blank. 1 2 2 122 dot 4. Clear scratch with the refresh button space. Pressed edit red only multi first 1 0 icon 2 119 slash 184 20.5% 122.4. Ref air 1 last pose in 1 slash 3. Last 1, ref air 4 2, 8, 3, set IRS pose. Refresh but clear scratch edit blank. K. M D W. Clear refresh button space pressed. Edit red only multi-line set IRS pose 3 8 2 KMDW N 41 degrees 47.2 W 087 degrees 45.1. Left FMC light off. Right FMC light off. GPW lesson light off. CDU number 1 message light off. CDU number 2 message light off. IRS aligned. West Elton, Illinois, United States. 0.8 nautical miles. 75 degrees.
Oh boy. Help if I unmute my mic. So anyway, let me explain how to do this since I had my mic muted. So, we are now on the
Ref airport. 1. Last pose. Pose in 1 slash 3.
pose
Last pose in 1 slash 3.
initialization page, or the position in an initialization page. So there's a couple ways to do this, and you'll see on some YouTube videos where you have to go to the next page using the next button, which would be
Next page button.
right there.
Edit red only multi-line pose in 1 slash 3.
And you probably could use page up and page down too, but anyhow, And then copy left GPS down
Last
to
1, Red Airport 2, 8, free, land. 4.
number 4. Well, where it would say enter IRS position. That's not there right now because I thought my mic was unmuted, but here's a simpler way to do it.
Land 3, 8, 2, KMDW land 41 degrees
Type in your
47.2
airport
W0.
that you parked at. In this case, I'm at Chicago Midway, which you saw me land at in the last tutorial. Well, what you do here is do a right soft key. Let me remind you, it's the Alt key and the number 2, and then do a right soft key and the number 4. That will copy
Red Air 2, KMDW land 41 degrees
your
47.2
coordinates.
W087 degrees 45.1.
Probably can't understand that. You might be able to, though. NVDA is not as fast as JAWS, unfortunately. But it will copy those coordinates from line 2 and put it into line 4, which is where it sets position at. And then you will see the notification from Talking Flight Monitor that the IRS is aligned. And the warning lights will go out. From here, it's pretty much the same as in P3D. So let me get to that, and I will be with you again in just a little bit.
Starside 20, Starside 20, pose in 1 edit red only multi-line 2, KMDW land 41 degrees 47.2 W0.
Aircraft looks good.
Refresh, clear strat edit land. KMDW, KCVG.
CDU message displayed. Invalid entry.
I really wish I knew why it did that. That's been a buggeroo.
Clear strat space. Rest,
CDU
edit
message cleared.
Let me see if I can get it to work this time.
KMDW, KCVG. Yon Amberon.
Got it. There we go.
Clear refresh button mode, edit red on Koru FLT no 2, KMDW, KCVG.
I will warn you, if it does that,
Emergency exit
just
light on.
hit the
Emergency exit and slash arm light refresh button mode, clear scratch pad button.
clear
Sequence selector
scratch
auto.
pad button,
Left side window key on. Left
then
forward
do a
window key on.
Control
Right
A
forward
once
window
you're
key
back
on.
in the
Right side
scratch
window key
pad.
on. Left forward window key light on.
And
Right forward window key
backspace
light on.
key.
Right side window key.
To clear
Left
that
pack auto.
out.
Left pack auto. Right pack auto. Right pack auto. Isolation valve auto. Isolation valve auto. Refresh button mode, edit red only multi-line 2, KMDW, KCVG. Auto brake RTO. Auto brake disarm light on. Runway F3. Request brake. 4. Left land. 5. Land. 6. Activate radar. Auto throttle arm. Auto throttle arm light on. Auto throttle. CDU number 1 execute key available. Execute key available. CDU number 1. Land. 4. 13L. Land. 3. 13C. Starside 20. Stars CF TLANRCE KMDW TLANRCE GRM KMDW slash 13C. KM edit red on land. 3. 13C. GPWS in flight on. CDU number 1 execute key available. GPWS in flight off. CDU number 1 execute key unavailable. Execute key off.
Glide slow.
Left low glide slow light on. Right low glide slow light on.
Pull
Left low glide
up.
slow light off. Right low glide slow light off. Land. 3.
Wind shear.
GAVN 6 hills
Wind
18L.
shear. Wind shear.
KC land 2. SHP 6 hills 36L.
Pull
Land.
up.
2. Land. 1. Sargo 3 hills 36C. Land 2. SHP 6 hills 36L. Land 3. TIPRR 3 hills 36R. Land 3.
Pull
TIPRR 3 hills 36R. West Elton is Moy in.
Pull
CDU
up.
number 1 execute key available.
Don't
CDU
sink.
number 1 execute key unavailable. Execute key
Don't
off.
sink. Too low. Terrain. Too low. Gear.
Trans 2. Since
Too
9 on slash
low.
off radar.
Flaps. Too
Starside
low.
20 FL 200 KMDW slash 30 LANRCE TRM 5 KCVG slash 36R. KMD LANRCE TRM 5 KCVG slash. Case edit land 3. Trans 2. T slash S1. CETRM 5 less activator T slash S1. CETRM 5 less activator.
1,000.
CDU number 1 execute key available. Execute key of trans T2. Delion slash off grader. Trans 3. ELANRFLM. Trans 3. ELANRFLM.
200. 100.
CDU number 1 execute key unavailable. Execute key off.
40. 30. 20.
Alright,
Yeah.
here's where you're going to run into another difference.
Wind shear. Wind shear. Wind shear.
Do not
Too
hit
low.
Alt I
Terrain.
at this point like you would in P3D. You want to hit
GPWS in flight off. Transponder mode off. Transponder
right
mode
soft
SPDY.
key 6 twice. which will now get you into the
ZF2, plan slash 1, dot slash 20 point GW slash CR perf 1 slash 2. Space, edit, perf, E, R.
performance initialization page. And now it's just like it would be in P3D.
Refresh, clear script, edit blank. 2, 0. 2, 3, 0, 0, 0. 1. 5. CPU number 1 execute key. Clear script, refresh, edit, red, perf 1 slash perf 1 GW slash CRZCG trip slash CRZ alt. 1. 137.1 slash 20.5% FL 324 slash FL 230. Plan slash 2. Dot slash 14.7 ZFW T 3. 122.4 reserved 4. 15.08 cost into 5. 20 request greater.
CDU
number 1
message
execute key
displayed.
unavailable. CPU
Using
number 1 message light
RSV
on.
fuel.
CPU number 2 message light on. Execute key off. 23. Less 2 1 CLB 1 greater. 22K dear 8. 3. Less 2 1 CLB 1 greater. Refresh clear edit blank. 5. Clear refresh edit red CG trim V2. 2. 24K 1 degrees. Refresh clear edit blank. 5. Clear refresh edit red on flaps QRA 1. 5 degrees 134 greater. 24 2. 95.4 slash 95.4 135 greater. CG 3. Dot percent 144 greater. MCP speed 100. MCP altitude 23,000 feet. CG trim V2, 2, 95.4 CG3, 20.5%, 5.56, 144 greater 100, star side 20, Microsoft Flight Simulator 737 cockpit debut professional by forms.make, MCP altitude column 3, MCP heading row 3, column MCP navigation column MCP speed column 310 indicated airs blank, 100 unselected, 0, 0, 4, 4, 44, 144, takeoff ref 1 slash 2 PMDG 737 CD Euro 1 column 2 2 of 10 edit red only multi-line selected takeoff ref 1 slash 2 flaps QRHV 11, 5 degrees 134 greater 130, selection removed. ACT RTE legs 161, EARND 292 slash 14,780 102, ELANR 103, DVT.632 slash FL 230, 104, Toyo.63 105, Masis .63, ACT R 103, CEGR 102, SHP 101, VHP.632 102, SA 103, CE 104, DCATT 206 105, DAMP 261 slash 13,001, ACT R 03, Vector 240 102, ZF 2 101, FIDEC 200 102, 103, Vector 04, Labor 189 slash 4008. CDU number 1 execute key available. Execute.
CDU message
number 1
cleared.
execute 0Z4. Troy slash 2400.
CDU message
CDU number 1
displayed.
0Z5.
Using
RW
RSV
star
fuel.
slash 946. MCP speed row 1 star side 20. Microsoft Flight Simulator dash 1.34. Microsoft Flight Simulator dash 1.34.14.0.
Alright, before we go any further here, FSO next is a little different from First Officer Pro. And this is a little bit annoying, and this looks like it might be changed for version 5 of First Officer Next, or whatever the next version will be for First Officer Next. If I put it into voice mode, button mode does not work anymore. If I put it in button
West Elmwood,
mode,
Illinois, United States. 0.8 nautical miles. 75 degrees.
voice mode doesn't work. So I'm leaving it in button mode, which means I've actually now got to type in the speeds and flaps and all that. I cannot do that by voice like I can with FSO Pro. Though inconvenient, but it does force you to know your airplane and know how to fly it. And keep track of all your windows that you need open. And since you don't have any hotkeys like you do in the P3D version, you really do need those windows. So it is definitely more hands-on, but I think that's what we all want, is to be as realistic as possible here. So without further ado, let me get the briefing out of the way, and let's get this plane on the runway as soon as we can. Talk more once we are airborne.
Ready for the departure briefing? Alright, it will be a left seat takeoff from Kilo, Mike, Delta, Whiskey, 2, Kilo, Charlie, Victor, Golf. Taxi route is per ATC instruction. We'll be departing on runway 13, Charlie. Climbing via the departure procedures to an initial altitude of 23,000 feet. Standard reject and emergency procedures apply. Any questions?
Pre-flight checklist. Oxygen.
Test it.
Navigation transfer and display switches.
Normal and auto.
Window heat.
On.
Pressurization mode selector.
Auto.
Flight instruments.
Heading set altimeter set.
Parking brake.
Set.
Fuel control switches.
Cut off.
Checklist complete.
ACTAR MCP star side 20. Note 7. Debut forms MCP at Microsoft ACTAR TE legs 1 edit red only multi-line selected ACTAR. Selection removed. Left FWD fuel pump on. Left forward fuel pump on. APU selector on. Engine number 1 FWD low pressure light off. APU selector start. APU selector. APU selector. L entry up doors 1 / L entry 1. Less open door greater. APU low oil pressure light on.
You know, that's kind of weird.
Microsoft Flight Simulator.
Sometimes L1 is open, and sometimes it's closed.
APU low oil pressure light off. APU low oil pressure light off.
Really don't get it, but hey, it works. The only thing is, if I'm using like PACX or what I like better, self-loading cargo, once I figure out why that's not working in MSFS, I have an email to the developer about that. I need to use
APU generator
that
light off. APU gen 1 off plus light on. Engine generator off plus
to
light on.
control what the first
Red command
officer is
disengage light on.
doing
Red command
now.
disengage light on. Navigation off. APU generator plus light on. Left side window heat light off. Left forward window heat light off. Right forward window heat light off. Right side window heat light off. Left master
So-
caution light on. Right master caution light on. Flight controls warning light on. IRS warning light on. Red command D disengage light off. Red command D disengage light off. GPWS in light on. CPU number 2 message light off. AC bus.
That can
Transfer
be a
number 1
little
off.
bit annoying.
AC bus. Transfer number 2 off. AC bus. Ground SVC number 1 off. AC bus. Ground SVC number 2 off. AC bus. Main number 1 off. AC bus. Main number 2 off. AC bus. Galley number 1 off. AC bus. Galley number 2 off. APU gen 1 off plus light off. Engine generator off plus light off. Battery discharge light on. Left side window heat light on. Left forward window heat light on. Right forward. Pushback PMDG. Mike. Heading 114. Pushback PMDG 700. Edit red on. Degrees 4. 0. Degrees 3. No turn no 2. Less straight out feet greater. Left master caution light off. Right master caution light off. Air systems warning light off. Turn nose 2. Less standard L feet greater. Turn nose 3. Right. Degrees comms 4. 90. Shock select tug. Microsoft Flight Simulator dash 1.34.14.0.
Before start checklist. Flight deck door.
Closed and locked.
Fuel 145 4 pounds.
Check.
Passenger signs.
Set.
MCP. Speed 144. Heading 241. Altitude 23000.
Check.
Takeoff speeds V1 134. VR 135. V2
West Elmsdon, Illinois, United States. 0.8
Set.
nautical miles.
CDU
75
pre-flight.
degrees.
Completed.
Rudder and aileron trim.
Free and 0.
Taxi and takeoff briefing.
Completed.
Anti-collision lights.
On.
Checklist complete.
Pushback PM. Edit red only multi-line shock select tug. Ground power light off. Ground power not available. Microsoft Flight Simulator dash 1.34.14.0.
We've been cleared for pushback and start. They want the tail to our left.
ACTAR MCP speed column 3 of 10. Star side 20. Notepad column 4 737 cock debut professional IN forms dot main MCP altitude row 3 column 1 8 of 10. Mike ACTAR MC star side 700 debut professional forms dot main MCP heading row 3 column 1 9 of 10. Heading MCP altitude Microsoft Flight Simulator dash 1.34.14.0. Parking brake off. Parking brake on. Parking brake off. Parking brake light off. MC ACTAR MCP star side 20. Note 737 cockpit column 4 debut professional bike forms dot main MCP navigation column 3 10 of 10 left. Microsoft Flight Simulator MCP heading column 3 3 of 10. MCP altitude row 2 column altitude edit MCP navigation row 1 column 2 2 of Microsoft Flight Simulator dash 1. Microsoft Flight Simulator dash 1.34.14.0.
Starting engine 2.
Engine number 2 TRD. Engine number 2 hydraulic pump low pressure light off. Engine number 2 fuel valve light closed. Engine number 2 star valve light closed. Engine number 2 star valve light in transit. Engine number 2 fuel valve light in transit. Engine number 2 star valve light closed. Engine number 2 fuel valve light closed. Number 2 starter engaged. Number 2 fuel valve open. Number 2 generator active. Number 2 ignition on. Number 2 starter off. Drive number 2 light off. Engine number 2 auto.
Engine 2 cutout. Starting engine 1.
Engine number 1 GRP. Engine number 1 hydraulic pump low pressure light off. Engine number 1 fuel valve light closed. Engine number 1 star valve light closed. Engine number 1 fuel valve light in transit. Engine number 1 star valve light in transit. Parking brake on. Parking brake light on. Engine number 1 fuel valve light closed. Engine number 1 star valve light closed. Number 1 starter engaged. Number 1 fuel valve open. Number 1 generator active. Number 1 ignition on.
Alright, steering pin is disconnected. Watch for the slip and release from guidance on your left. Have a good flight.
Number 1 starter off. Drive number 1 light off. Engine number 1 auto.
Engine 1 cutout. All engines stable.
Generator number 1 bus light on. Left master caution light on. Right master caution light on. Flight controls warning light on. AC bus. Galley number 1 on. AC bus. Galley number 2 on. Left master caution light off. Right master caution light off. Flight controls warning light off. Generator number 2 bus light on. Apu generator bus light off. Left master caution light on. Right master caution light on. Flight controls warning light on. IRS warning light on. Apu gen 1 off bus light. Engine number 1 cont. Engine number 2 cont. Taxi light on. Taxi on. Flaps 0. Flaps 1.
CDU
number 1
message
message light
clear.
off. CDU number 2 message light off. Flaps in transit light on. Flaps 1. Transponder mode off. Transponder mode XPNDR. Transponder mode TA. Transponder mode TA/RA. Flaps 1. Flaps in transit light off. Flaps extended light on.
Check the door.
Flaps 2.
Okay, there's another difference
Left
between FSO Pro and First Officer Next is in FSO Pro, it will read the flap setting from the CDU. It doesn't do that in MSFS with First Officer Next. You have to actually put it in to the performance page, which unfortunately those fields are not labeled, so remembering which ones which can throw you sometimes. And as you see
West L
there,
North, United States. 0.9 nautical miles. 78 degrees.
I messed up and put flaps 1 when I should have set flaps 5, and the way they have it set up, that would have been a flaps 3. Since basically what they had to do was they had to figure out how to make it work with even Airbus aircraft, which the flap positions are different. So that's what I should have done. But it's fixed now. So let's get the taxi checklist done, and then we will be underway shortly.
Taxi checklist. Generators.
On.
Probe E.
On.
Anti-ice.
Set.
Isolation valve.
Auto.
Engine start switches.
Continuous.
Recall.
Check.
Auto brakes.
RTO.
Flight control. Full left. Full right. Full back. Full forward. Rudder full left. Rudder full right.
Check.
Ground equipment.
Clear.
Checklist complete.
MC Starside 2700 debut professional forms dot make jump to runway column 4 left. KMDW 10 runway list 04L 04R 13C the news no Microsoft Flight Simulator dash 1.34.14.0
Airborne.
3 center
On ground.
on runway
Auto brake disarm light
1
on.
3 center
Auto brake disarm light off. Captain's pivot key light on. Left elevator pivot key light on.
Okay,
Left
now
elevator light on.
that's
Left tempo light
weird.
on. Left master caution light on. Right master caution light on. Anti-ice warning light on. F/OP light on. Right elevator pivot key light on.
That
right
shouldn't
elevator
have
light on.
happened.
O pivot key light on. Pivot key off. Accu selector on. 6 knots indicated.
That actually right there should not have happened.
Accu low oil pressure light on. Accu low oil pressure light on. Auto brake off.
No worries though.
Left master caution light off. Right master caution light off. Anti-ice warning light off. Flaps 4.
Phew,
Flaps
that's
1. Accu
interesting.
low oil pressure light off. Accu low oil pressure light off. Flaps 1. Flaps in transit light on. Flaps extended light off.
But I think we're still okay.
Engine number 1 fuel valve light in transit. Number 1 ignition off. Number 2 ignition off. Number 1 fuel
No,
valve
we're
closed.
not.
Number 2 fuel valve closed. Engine number 1 star valve light in transit. Left master caution light
CDU
on.
message
Right master
displayed.
caution light on. Overhead warning light on. Engine number 2 star valve light in transit. Engine number 2 fuel valve light in transit. Flaps 0. Left flight director off. Left flight director light off. Right flight director light on. Left flight director off. Left FD master off. Right FD master on. Engine number 1 fuel valve light open. Flaps in transit light off. Engine number 1 star valve light open. Right flight director off. Left side window E off. Left forward window E off. Right forward window E off. Right side window E off. Left master caution light off. Right master caution light off.
All
Left
right,
controls warning
people.
light off. IRS warning light off.
I
Fuel
will
warning
be
light off.
back.
Electrical warning light off. Hydraulics warning light off. Overhead warning light off. Air systems warning light off. Transponder mode off. Transponder mode XPNDR. Transponder mode off. Transponder mode STPY. Flight deck door auto / pushed in. Flight deck door unlocked. Flight deck door auto / pushed in. Flight deck door auto. MCP altitude row 1 column 2 of MCP at RTE legs 1 / 4 PMDG edit red on. Selection removed. Engine number 1 hydraulic pump low pressure light on. Hydraulics warning light on. Engine. Blank menu. Blank 1. Less FMC less rec greater. Ground 1. Less GPU card. Ground power 2. Connecting INHBT. Ground power light on. Ground. Microsoft Flight Simulator MCP altitude column 3 MCP speed column 3 6 of 10. Star side 20. Note 737 cockpit column 2 taxi light off button alt plus T. Run left land left right retract panels preview. Lights 1 to 1 level 1. F level 0 forward collapse F forward overhead collapse 1 to 1 expanded E level 1 electrical battery selector ground space pressed AC bus ground SVC number 1 on AC bus ground SVC number 2 on yaw amber light on battery
All right.
transfer bus number 1 light on.
Ground power is back on. So let me reset
Flight controls warning light on.
first officer here, and we'll get going shortly. I'm really not sure what it did there. Strange.
Airplane service 1 / 4 PMDG 737 CD Euro. Selection removed. 737 cockpit row 1 column 2 of 10. Microsoft Flight Simulator dash 1.34.1 menu PMDG 7 edit red act RTE legs 1 / 4 164 degrees 23.5 nm field of pressure light on 1 EARND 292 1 act RTE legs 1 / 4
At least it didn't delete my route, so we're still good.
carriage return refresh button edit red only multi-line act RTE legs 1 / 4 act RT 101 FIDEC 2112 0304 Toy 100 005 RW36R / 946 159 3 112 101 EARND 2 164 act RTE legs 1 / 4
Route is still valid, so we should be able to go.
West Elton, Illinois, United States 1.6 nautical miles
So
87
give me
degrees
a couple minutes here, and we will be underway.
Microsoft Flight Simulator dash edit red only multi-line act RTE leg L entry 1 less open door greater doors warning light on Microsoft Flight Simulator dash 1.34 700 MCP speed star side 20 debut professional forms.main column forms.main drop restart FSFO dialog no yes but multi no edit red only multi-line 1 system submenus edit red only multi system submen edit red only refresh button alt plus R edit red only multi refresh clear scratch the button refresh edit red only multi-line 1 less open door greater Microsoft Flight Simulator 700 MCP star side went debut profession forms main column 4 10 of 10. Restart config support company buttons. Connect. Flows and checklist grouping. Pre-FL. Company. Button. Load air about. Load aircraft buttons. Connect. Operate flows and performance. Flows and checklist grouping. Pre-FLT. Pre-F. Before. Start at after taxis before. 13. Combo 23,000 button. Combo box 0 button. Combo box edit blank. 1,000. 1,000 selected. 2,000. 4,000. 20, 22,000. 23,000 button. Combo box collapsed. Yes. Yes selected. Button. Combo box collapsed. 1. 1 selected. 5. 1. 1. 5. Button. Combo box collapsed. Edit blank. On button. Combo box collapsed. Edit blank. Edit selected 14,004 on left master caution light off. Right master caution light off. Edit selected 122.4. Edit selected. Edit selected. Edit selected 135. Edit selected. Edit selected. Edit selected. Edit selected 36R button. Combo full button. Combo box collapsed. Edit blank. Field of pressure light off. Full button. Combo box collapsed. 36R button. Edit select. Edit selected 58. Edit selected 1. Edit selected 100. Edit selected 100. Edit selected 130. Edit selected 0. Edit selected 122.4. Edit selected 0. Edit selected 130. Edit selected. Edit selected 100. Edit selected 14,004. Combo box collapsed. Edit blank. On button. Combo box collapsed. Edit blank. On select. On button. Combo box collapsed. Edit blank. Button. Combo box 2. Deselected. 2 1. 2 1 selected. 2. Deselected. The button. Combo box collapsed. Edit selected 5. The button. Combo on button. Combo box. Edit selected 14. Edit selected 100. Edit selected 0. Edit selected 130. Edit selected 130. Edit selected 104. Edit selected 117. Edit selected 58 50. Edit selected KCVG. 36R. Combo box collapsed. Edit blank. Full button. Combo box collapsed. Edit blank. 0 button. Combo box collapsed. 1. 1 select 2. Restart. Config support company buttons. But connect. Operation flows and checklists. Performance. Doors 1/2 PMDG 737. Microsoft Flight Simulator dash 1.34.14.0.
Aircraft is good.
CPU number 1 message light off. CPU number 2 message light off.
We're not gonna have to taxi this time since I'm already sitting on the runway. So, really not sure what happened there because it should have not bounced like that. But
altimeter 1013 29.92 inches. Dot. Altimeter 1019 30.09 inches. Dot. Left flight director on. Left
We'll
flight
be
director
good
light
in a
on.
minute.
Left flight director on. Left FD master on. Right flight director on. Right flight director on. Auto throttle arm. Auto throttle arm light on. Auto throttle arm switch on. Auto throttle light on. 144. 23,000. Auto brake RTO. Auto brake disarm light on. Fuel flow selector reset. Auto brake disarm light off. Fuel flow selector used. Forms.main row 1 column. Doors 1/2 PMDG. Edit red only multi-line selected door. Selection removed. Microsoft Flight Simulator dash 1. Act RTE legs 1 slash editor. Microsoft Forms.main cop 737 cockpit column 4 4 of 10. MCP altitude row 2 column 1 5 of 10. Altitude edit. Act RTE legs Microsoft Flight. Microsoft.
Ready for the departure briefing? Alright, it will be a left seat takeoff from Kilo, Mike, Delta, Whiskey, 2, Kilo, Charlie, Victor, Golf. Taxi route is per ATC instruction. We'll be departing on runway 13, Charlie. Climbing via the departure procedures to an initial altitude of 23,000 feet. Standard reject and emergency procedures apply. Any questions?
Pre-flight checklist. Oxygen.
Tested.
Navigation transfer and display switches.
Normal and auto.
Window heat.
West Elsdon, Illinois, United States. 1.6 nautical miles, 87
On.
degrees.
Pressurization mode selector.
Auto.
Flight instruments.
Heading set. Altimeter set.
Parking brake.
Set.
Fuel control switches.
Cut off.
Checklist complete.
Left aft fuel pump on. Left aft fuel pump on. Right FWD fuel pump on. Right forward fuel pump on. Right aft fuel pump on. Right aft fuel pump on. Engine number 1 aft low pressure light off. Engine number 2 FWD low pressure light off. Electric hydraulic pump number 2 on. Electrical hydraulic pump 2 on. Engine number 2 aft low pressure light off. Electric hydraulic pump number 1 on. Electrical hydraulic pump 1 on. Electric hydraulic pump number 2 low pressure light off. Electric hydraulic pump number 1 low pressure light off. Left pack off. Left pack off. Right pack off. Right pack off. Right recirc fan off.
CDU
Left
message
recirc fan off.
displayed.
Anti-collision lights on.
CDU
Beacon
message
on.
clear.
Lights on. Wing on.
CDU
Logo lights
message
on. Logo
displayed.
on. Flight deck door denied.
Single
Flight deck door
FMC
auto.
operation.
Navigation off. Beacon off. Wing off. Logo off. Ground power light off. Left master caution light on. Right master caution light on. Flight control. MCP altitude. Act RTE elect forms.main 737 cockpit row. Ground cabin fasten DC AC volts into AC stand IDG generators group generator APU generator number 1 on button space.
CDU
Press.
message
CDU
clear.
number 1 message light off. Red
CDU
command name
message
engage light APU
displayed.
generator number 2 on button
Dual
space.
FMC
Press.
office
AC source
door.
light APU generator ID stand AC select DC selector combo box passenger cabin ground power off button Alt plus R. Battery selector combo box on collapse. Panels preview. Electrical collapse 1 to 1 level 1. Level Z collapse. D. Bottom overhead expanded 1 to level 1. Lights 1 to 1. Lamp right fixed. Right turn off. Taxi light off button Alt plus. Microsoft Flight Simulator dash 1.34.14.0.
See, that goes back to what I said earlier, where you need to know what is where and how to quickly get to things, because it didn't switch over to APU correctly. But we should be airborne in the next 2 or 3 minutes, so everyone stand by.
Park and brake off. Park and brake on. Park and brake off. Park and brake light off. Park and brake on. Park and brake light on.
Before start checklist. Flight deck door.
Closed and locked.
Fuel 1441 pounds.
Check.
Passenger signs.
Set.
MCP. Speed 100. Heading 241. Altitude
730 MCP altitude column 3 RTE elect forms main row 2 MCP navigation column 26 MCP
Check.
heading column 3 7 of 10 heading at Alt plus E selected right 7 MCP act RTE forms main MCP navigation column MCP speed row 3 column indicated main 100 unselected 0 0
Set.
CDU
4
pre-flight.
Completed.
1
Rudder and aileron
4
trim.
3
144
and 0.
MCP heading row 1 column 2 2 of 10
Completed.
Anti-collision
Microsoft Flight
lights.
737
Checklist
MCP altitude
complete.
column 2 5 of 10 altitude MCP heading Microsoft Flight Simulator dash 1.34.14.0
Starting engine 2.
engine number 2 GRT MCP heading 730 act RTE legs 1 select act RTE 164 degrees 23.5 nm engine number 2 fuel valve light closed 1 EARND 292/14992 1 on act RT Microsoft Flight Simulator dash 1 MCP altitude column 3 MCP speed column 4 MCP heading row 2 column 1 heading act RT Microsoft Flight Simulator MCP altitude row 2 column 1 altitude MCP heading row 1 act RTE legs 1/4 PMDG Microsoft Flight Simulator dash 1.34.14.0
Starting engine 1.
engine number 1 GRT engine 2 0.0% 0 pounds thrust number 2 starter engaged number 2 fuel valve open engine number 2 hydraulic pump low pressure light off number 1 starter engaged number 2 generator active number 1 fuel valve open engine number 2 auto drive number 2 light off number 2 ignition on engine number 1 hydraulic pump low pressure light off number 1 generator
Engine 1
active
cutout.
drive number 1 light off engine number 1 auto engine number 1 fuel valve light closed engine number 1 star valve light closed number 1 ignition on engine number 1 fuel valve light in transit engine number 1 star valve light in transit engine number 1 fuel valve light closed engine number 1 star valve light closed number 2 starter off number 1 starter off engine 2 0.0%
Engine 2 cutout.
1283
All
pounds
engines stable.
Approaching
Check the door.
runway 13 center.
Engine 1,
On runway
0.0%, 1286 pounds
13
thrust.
center.
Navigation off. Beacon off. Wing off. Logo off. Generator number 1 bus light on. GPWS in light on. AC bus. Transfer number 1 off. AC bus. Ground SVC number 1 off. AC bus. Main number 1 off. AC bus. Cali number 1 on. GPWS in light off. AC bus. Transfer number 1 on. AC bus. Ground SVC number 1 on. AC bus. Main number 1 on. AC bus. Cali number 2 on. Navigation on. Beacon on. Wing on. Logo on. Generator number 2 bus light on. APU generator bus light off. CDU number 2 message light off. AC bus. Transfer number 2 off. AC bus. Ground SVC number 2 off. AC bus. Main number 2 off. AC bus. Cali number 1 off. APU gen 1 off bus light on. Engine generator off bus light on. Battery discharge light on. Left master caution light on. Right master caution light on. Electrical
CDU
warning light
message
on.
clear.
CDU number 2 message light on. AC bus. Transfer number 2 on. AC bus. Ground SVC number 2 on. AC bus. Main number 2 on. AC bus. Cali number 1 on. Bat discharge light on. Battery discharge light off. Left master caution light off. Right master caution light off. Electrical warning light off. Bat discharge light off. Captain's pivot heat light off. Left elevator pivot heat light off. Left alpha vane light off. Left temp probe light off. Pivot heat on. F/O pivot heat light off. Right elevator pivot heat light off. Right alpha vane light off. O pivot heat light off. Right recirc fan on. Left recirc fan on. Left pack auto. Left pack auto. Right pack auto. Right pack auto. Isolation valve auto. Isolation valve auto. West Elsdon, Illinois, United States. 1.6 nautical miles. 87 degrees. Apu selector off. Apu generator bus light on. Apu gen 1 off bus light off. Engine generator off bus light off. Engine number 1 cont. Engine number 2 cont. Taxi light on. Taxi on. Flaps 0. CPU number 1 message light off. CPU number 2 message light off. Flaps 0. Transponder mode off. Transponder mode XPNDR. Flaps in transit light on. Transponder mode TA. Transponder mode TA slash RA. Flaps 1. Flaps in transit light off. Flaps extended light on. Flaps 5.
Right, there we go. Flaps 5. So we should be good. We're about to find out, but we should be good here.
Taxi checklist. Generators.
On.
Probe.
On.
Anti-ice.
Set.
Isolation valve.
Auto.
Engine start switches.
Continuous.
Recall.
Check.
Auto brakes.
RTO.
Flight control.
Luckily, in Microsoft Flight Simulator, it's actually programmed the switches on my throttle quadrant so I can quickly get the engine started in this situation. So, yeah, that helped.
Full left. Full right. Full back. Full forward. Rudder full left. Rudder full right.
Check.
Ground equipment.
Clear.
Checklist complete. Before takeoff checklist. Flaps.
Set.
Stabilization trim.
Set.
Checklist complete.
Left retractable landing light extend. Left retractable landing light on. Right retractable landing light extend. Right retractable landing light on. Landing on. Left fixed landing light on. Right fixed landing light on. Left runway turn off light on. Right runway turn off light on. Position lights off. Position lights scope slash steady. Scope on. Parking brake off. Parking brake on. Parking brake off. Parking brake light off.
Thrust set.
Check.
Right flight director light on. Right FD master on. Left 1.
31 knots.
Speed alive.
Check.
52 knots. 71 knots.
Check.
90 knots. 108 knots. 126 knots.
Up 1. Up
141 knots.
11. Auto brake up 13.
Airborne.
Up 12.
Gear up.
153 knots.
Up 13. Up 14.
Gear up.
Up 15. Up 16. Up 17. Up 18.
Nav.
Up 19.
VNAV.
164.
Heading
Speed
select
off.
on.
Heading select light on.
Autopilot.
VNAV light on. Right flight director light off.
Command
Right
A
FD
on.
master off. Speed box command. VNAV light on. Heading. Attitude mode disabled. Runway guidance disabled. MCP altitude row 1 column. Altitude intervene but mode. VNAV on but mode plus V. 2000 space. Press.
Acceleration
Speed intervene on.
altitude.
VNAV light off. Amber command data 6 space. Press. VNAV off.
VNAV
Amber
on.
command data disengage light on. Amber command D disengage light. Intervene but mode. VNAV on but mode plus V. 24 15 feet per minute. Mike MCP heading act RTE legs 1 MC 7 forms MC star side debut professional MCP at Microsoft Flight Sim MCP heading column 3 of 10 heading at HDG cell off but mode plus L nav off but mode plus L space rest heading
LNAV
select light
on.
off L nav light on
Flaps
L nav light on heading select off 3000 feet
Flaps 1.
MCP altitude row 1 column 2 of 10 flaps 3 Microsoft Flight Simulator dash 1.14.14.0 flaps 1
After takeoff
flaps
checklist.
1 flaps in transit light on flaps
Engine.
extended light off
On.
Packs.
Auto.
flaps 0
Landing gear.
Fuel
Up
lever
and
off
off.
left ram door light
Flaps.
off
Like
right ram
no
door light
lights.
off flaps 0
Checklist
flaps in
complete.
transit light off engine number 1 auto engine number 2 auto 4000 feet auto brake off
Center tanks below 1,000 pounds.
Auto throttle arms. Auto throttle arms light on. N1 light on. Auto throttle servos on. Auto throttle arm switch on. Auto throttle light on. N1 light on. FMC speed. 5,000 feet. $6,000 feet. Heading 160. MCP heading row MCP altitude act RTE legs 1 at 13 102 101 EARND 2 164 degrees 19.3 nm Microsoft Flight Simulator dash 1.34.14.0 7,000 feet Marionette Park, Illinois, United 3159 feet per minute 8,000 feet. $9,000 feet. N1 light on.
CDU message
CDU number
display.
1 message light on. At
Reset
RTE legs 1 slash 4 PM
altitude.
MCP heading MCP altitude row 2 copy nav on button alt plus E. Intervene altitude edit alt plus E plan. 10,000 0 0 1 2 3 23 23,000.
CDU
number
message
1 message
cleared.
light off. CDU number 2 message light off. 1342 feet per minute. 1188 feet per minute. 1099 intervene button alt space. Pressed. N1 light on. N1 light on. 10 Microsoft Flight Simulator -1.
Passing
Microsoft
10,000
Flight Sim. 2195 feet per minute. Left retractable landing light extend. Left retractable landing light retract. Right retractable landing light extend. Right retractable landing light retract. Left fixed landing light off. Right fixed landing light off. Landing off. Left runway turn off light off. Right runway turn off light off. Taxi off. Taxi light off. Wing lights
NAV1
off.
has
Wing off.
localizer.
Logo lights off. Logo off.
Localizer is alive. Runway heading 97.
Alrighty, we passed 10,000 feet, so I will now go discuss my windows that I keep open. So, we will go in the order I like trying to keep them in.
MCP altitude row 1 column at RTE legs 1 slash 4 PMDG 737 CDU.
I have the CDU,
MCP heading row 2 column 1 4 of 10. 11,000 feet.
and these really don't matter what order they're in, per se. Heading, MCP heading panel,
MCP speed column 2 5 of 10.
MCP speed panel,
737 cockpit forms main column 4 MCP navigation row 3 column 1 8 of 10.
MCP navigation panel,
Star side 20 notepad column debut professional Microsoft Flight Simulator MCP altitude column 2 2 of 10.
MCP
12,000 feet.
altitude panel,
At RTE legs 1 MCP heading row 2 MCP speed column 2 737 cockpit column 3 6 of 10.
and the cockpit window.
Forms main column MCP navigate star side 20 debut professional Microsoft Flight Simulator
The last window is especially
1.34.1.4.0.
important if you're using a program such as self-loading cargo
13,000 feet.
or PACX, but especially self-loading cargo since it has a ground crew, and the ground crew are unhappy if you leave the taxi lights on and the runway turn off lights on and you park at a stand or parking
14,000 feet.
spot. So you gotta remember to turn those off. I know FSO Pro does not turn those off. Haven't seen what happens if I move to a gate after landing yet, but
15,000 feet.
we will find that out together tonight in this video. Now let's go over my approach.
MCP altitude row at RTE legs 1 slash edit red only multi lines.
Okay,
at
going
RTE
over
legs
to
1
the
slash 4 177
CDU
degrees.
and the legs page.
16,000 feet. At RTE leg 118 degree 1, 119 degree 2, 133, DCATT 104, DAMP 261, 105, FIDEC 261 slash 12,006. At RTE leg 3 slash 4.
I'm looking for
292 knots indicated.
my arrival runway in
17,000
Cincinnati.
feet.
That's what I'm looking
006 degree 4.4, RW36R
There
slash
it is.
946. 006 degree 3, 155 slash 2400.
So, go 2 waypoints above that. So there's 1,
006 degrees 5.0 NM. 2, labor 189 slash
There's
4000
two.
day.
Transition altitude.
Altimeter,
which is
1013,
labor
29.92
in this
inches.
case.
Dot.
So,
02, labor 189 slash 4000 day. 18,000 feet.
you see it's 4,008. That's 4,000 feet or above. I am going to descend all the way down to 4,000 feet once I get to my top of descent. Mind you, things can be different with FATSIM, but without FATSIM, like I'm doing in this video,
19,000 feet.
this is how I will do it.
Mach 0.63.
Okay, speed's good.
Microsoft Flight Simulator dash 1.34.14.0.
Speed brake on.
Speed brake arm light on. Spoilers retracted. Speed brake arm light off.
Okay. I wanted to make sure I didn't have the speed brake on for some unknown reason.
At RTE leg 3 slash 4. Edit red only.
So, what you will see me do in just a little bit here,
Distance to descent 151 slash 0 0 22 29 Grant Park, Illinois, United States. Heading 156
in about
0063 RW36R slash 946. Distance to destination 237 slash 0 0. Distance to descent 150 slash 0 0 22 31. 21,000 feet.
22 minutes here, so I'm going to go ahead and explain this now because it will get busy and I won't have time to explain much, so now is the best time to do it. And I will be demonstrating what I'm doing when the time comes. So, I will go over to the altitude panel.
003 RW36R slash Microsoft Flight Simulator MCP altitude column 33 of 10. Intervene but Alt plus I. Altitude and Alt plus E selected 23,000.
And typing 4,000
N1 light
into
off.
that
N1 light off.
box and hitting enter. The plane will descend once it's at top of descent down to 4,000 feet. At this time,
23,000 feet.
I am going to, or a little bit before then, depending on when I feel like doing it, I could even really do it now. I could tell Talking Flight Monitor what my approach is going to be and the arrival runway. Rather. And let's do that now.
Microsoft Flight Simulator Microsoft Flight Simulator dash 1 point.
Right bracket.
Choose destination runway.
D.
Airport edit plan K C V G. 8 runways loaded. KCVG. Runway combo box 09 collapse 18C 27.
We're going 36
36L.
right.
36R. OK but Alt plus O.
And hit
Microsoft
OK.
Flight Simulator dash 1.34.14.0.
Now, Talking Flight Monitor knows what runway we are going to be landing on, and it only shows the ILS approaches, so we're good there. Now what I'll do is watch my distance to
MCP altitude row 1 at RTE leg 3 slash edit red only 006 degrees TF4 1500 slash 1500 03 RW36R 02 Toy 100 01 labor 189 slash 4000
Vapor, which is the waypoint I want to be at 4,000 at. Just as I get to Labor, or just before it, I will do a Control A to turn approach mode on. And at this point, I will be slowing the plane down to no more than under 180 knots.
Microsoft Flight Simulator Microsoft
And
Flight Simulator dash 1.
that's, I'm on VATSIM and I am given other instructions. Once I have noticed that I'm basically at 0 or just below the glide slope, usually around 49 feet or so, I will then go over to
Microsoft Flight Simulator at RTE leg 3
the
slash 4
navigation
PMDG 737 MCP altitude column MCP heading row 2 column MCP speed column 2 737 cog forms dot main column MCP navigation row 3 column left flight director on button Alt plus F right flight direct approach mode off button Alt plus localizer hold off button CMDA on button Alt plus A CWSA off button Alt plus CMDB off button Alt plus D.
and go to Command B. A lot of times I'll just leave it on Command B and hit enter on that, or space on that. That most of the time I'll hit enter and turn that on. Now the plane should do a full auto land. Some airports, like I've said in previous videos, don't have full auto land, so you will have to just idle the throttle at about 20 to 30 feet and the plane should land nicely on the runway. And
Microsoft Flight Simulator at RTE leg 3 editor Microsoft Flight Simulator dash 1.34 at RTE edit red only Microsoft Flight
at
Simulator
about
dash
10 miles out,
1.34.14.0.
I will slow the plane down to 160 knots, lower the gear, the flaps to 15, and between 5 and 6 miles out,
Remington, Indiana, United States.
I will
4.4
then
nautical miles, 12 degrees. US
so
Eastern
to
Standard
the
Time.
final approach speed, flaps 30, and you should be golden at that point. So like I said in the email last night, and as I will be demonstrating shortly, you want that second to last waypoint, which in this case is Laper for me, and 4,000 feet. Now, if the MCP or CDU rather yells at you and wants you to reset the MCP altitude,
Act RTE Lex 1 select, edit red only.
either way to do it.
Act RTE Lex 2 slash 4, so 101, CET 102, DCAT 103, AMP 206. Act Art 006 degree 3, RW 36R slash 946. Act RT Lang 2, Lang 1, Modes slash 3000 A.
Set it to your missed approach altitude, which would be 3,000 feet in my case.
Microsoft Flight Simulator dash 1.34.14.0.
And you should have no major issues if you have to do a go around, because your missed approach altitude is already in the box for altitude. I will recap all this during the descent phase, since as you probably can guess, it's going to get pretty busy below 10,000 feet. So if you did miss any of this, you will hear it a second time. So I hope everyone's having fun in the simulated skies, whether you're using P3D or MSFS. And I will say MSFS, except for that little snafu at the beginning of this video. There must be an elevation issue there. But MSFS is really running smooth. I've never seen this plane run this nicely in P3D. PMDG is working on the 737 MAX 8, which I'm excited about. I love that airplane. That is like my favorite airplane. I love the 800 too, but the MAX 8, some serious legroom in between the seats on that plane. I don't know how they did it, but I've sat in many rows in that airplane and haven't felt cramped since flying in that plane. I mean, I have long legs. I'm pretty much all leg. And most of the seats in that aircraft, I cannot touch the seat in front of me. Or if I am, I'm barely touching the seat in front of me. The only other time I've run into that is back in the days of Continental. And there was a lot of legroom in row 5. You might say, oh, that's the bulkhead. Yes, it was. But not all bulkheads are created equal in even the same aircraft type. But yeah, the Continental 737-900, it was.
Distance to descent, 89/0, 0, 13, 35.
A lot of legroom. Matter of fact, I had a funny story once. I was flying home from Portland, Oregon, connecting in Houston. And this was really before e-tickets and all that jazz, and mobile boarding passes, so that kind of thing really wasn't huge back then, but I believe I did have an app back then. Don't remember which one it was, since I use Flight View Elite now. But I get off the airplane. Look at my gate number from my next flight. Oh, this is funny. I actually found out I was getting right back on the same plane. I was actually sitting in 5A from Portland to Houston. I was getting back on the same plane, and now I'm sitting in 5F. What coincidence is that? Most airlines don't do that these days. Most airlines, you have regional airlines going to smaller airports like New Orleans. These days I do fly Southwest 99.9% of the time, so it's all the same type of aircraft. Occasionally I'll run into a 737-700, but most of the 800s and MAX 8s these days. And trust me, if you fly in a 737-700, you will notice how worn out those planes are starting to look. I still like them, but they definitely have that
NAB1
worn
is
out
localizer.
feel to
Localizer
them.
is alive. Runway heading 324.
Minus 312 feet per minute. 22,949 feet. Minus 79 feet per minute.
Yeah, and the thing about MSFS is you'll notice with the live weather, the planes
NAB1 has localizer. Localizer is alive. Runway heading 144.
have to do a lot more work than in P3D, even with real world live weather add-ons such as FS Global. And the physics are a lot better in MSFS too. I mean, I don't know if you
Light
noticed that
slope
when
is
I
alive.
took off.
NAB1 has
But
localizer. Localizer is
If
alive.
you watch the
Runway heading 144.
first tutorial
NAB1
video I
has
did in
light slope.
P3D, you'll notice that I really had to work to keep that plane on the runway. Put it straight down the runway. Notice I only had to do that a little bit in MSFS. Pretty real world there, actually. So a couple tricks here. Once you've gotten to about 50% power, at least I'm using on my throttle quadrant, since I'm using the Airbus throttle quadrant from Thrustmaster, I don't have 40%. I have 50. But once I get up to that first D10, FSO probably is not going to apply takeoff power. I do need to do some key remapping here, but Control Shift G will do takeoff power for you by toggling the takeoff go around switch, and then turn that engages takeoff power. Once airborne, you probably noticed this toward the beginning of this video or a little bit ago, and I had to quickly jump over to the altitude panel and make sure VNAV was turned on. It actually stayed on for a change.
Brownsburg, Indiana, United States. 0.6 nautical miles, 22 degrees.
And I had to go turn on or make sure LNAV was turned on. The one thing that I usually don't have happen that happened this time is yellow throttle turned off. So I had to re-engage that. But like I've said earlier, it's programmed through MSFS by default properly. So I just hit the button on my side of my throttle and the auto throttle re-engaged, and it's running on FMC speed. I've got LNAV running, I've got VNAV running, and
Distance to descent, 48/0, 0, 7, 16.
just like in real life, the plane's pretty much flying itself.
23,000 feet.
Essentially, a real-life pilot once they're airborne, especially once they're at cruise. All they're really doing is monitoring the instruments. So, that's pretty much what I'm doing. Interestingly enough, I did discover something. In order for the Airbus Edition throttle quadrant to engage reverse thrust, I've actually got to pull up onto the levers to get it into the reverse thrust position, or barely into the reverse thrust position so it will engage. Then I can bring it all the way back into reverse thrust. It is actually a button, but even with it only being a button, it's actually quite nice to have a reverse thrust ability on my throttle quadrant, which other throttle quadrants that I've had didn't have that feature. Even one that I had that was
NAV1
quite
has local
expensive
leader.
did not have
Localizer is
reverse
alive.
thrust, which drove
Runway
me
heading 325.
Approaching top of
bananas.
descent.
Glide slope is
Alright.
alive. NAV1 has
At
glide
RTE
slope.
Lex 1/3 PMDG edit. My MCP navigation column 3 MCP altitude row 2 column altitude edit alt plus plan 20 0 0 3 2 4 4000. At RTE Lex 1. Microsoft Flight Simulator dash 1. Distance to descent 34/0 0 5 12.
Alright, you just heard the first officer say approaching top of descent, even though I'm about 34 miles from the top of descent. I think that's kind of a bug there, but I just went over to the altitude panel, and in the box I put 4,000, since that's the altitude I want to descend down to for labor. So everyone enjoy the rest of this flight, and I will be back with everyone in just a little bit once we start our descent, so I can recap the procedure for approach and landing. Stay tuned, and I will be right back in a few minutes.
Distance to descent 26/0 0 4 0. Morristown, Indiana, United States. 4.9 nautical miles, 9 degrees. At RTE Lex 1/edit red 13 1 1 1 1 CETR M.630/F 119 degrees 11.9 nm 1 CETR M.630/FL 230 1-2. DCATT.630/FL 230. 103. AMP 261/14731. 1-2. 101. CETRM. Microsoft Flight Sim. Distance to descent. 16/00227. Distance to descent. 6/00055.
Ready for the approach briefing? Okay, we're expecting the ILS approach for runway 36 Romeo. The minimum altitude is 200 feet. We'll use auto brakes too. We can expect to park at gate 6-4. In case of go around, we'll climb per ATC instructions on the runway heading. Any questions?
Descent checklist. Pressurization.
Set.
Recall.
Check.
Auto brake disarm. Auto brake 1.
brakes.
Set.
Landing data.
Check.
Approach brief.
Completed.
Checklist complete.
Nav 1.
ILS set.
110.35. Course 6. Nav 1. 110.35. Course 6.
Alright, to recap the approach and landing procedures.
Seatbelt selector auto. Seatbelt selector on.
We are descending down to Laper, or descending to
Auto throttle turbos
4,000
off.
feet at Laper. Within a few miles of Laper, or as we
22,000
reach
feet.
Laper, I will do a control A to turn approach on. At that time, I want to be 180 knots, maybe 170. I usually would do it at 180 knots though. Once the glide slope shows that I'm about 49-ish or so
21,000 feet.
feet below, not above, below the glide slope, at that time I will go over to the navigation panel and turn Command B on. At this time, the plane will now
3.8 nautical miles. 238 degrees.
be configured to that itself. So all you need to do is monitor the speed, gear, and flaps.
NAV1 has localizer. Localizer is alive. Runway heading 11.
20,000 feet.
10 miles out. Gear down, flaps 15, speed 160 knots. And there's one thing I almost forgot to do.
Act RTE legs 1 set. Selection remove. Coast WT 1. Land 2. 30 degrees 142 KT. KC free. Hills 4. G slash S wind 4. 4. 110.35 slash 006 degrees 30 slash 142.
There we go.
Microsoft Flight Sim MCP altitude column 3 3 of 10 MCP navigation row 2 column 1 4 MCP heading column 2 5 MCP speed column 3 6 of 10 indicated. Act RT Microsoft Flight Simulator
Knowing the next
1.34.1
panel I need is the speed panel.
MCP speed row 1 indicated airspeed edit red only intervene off button mode plus Microsoft Flight
I
Simulator
set that up
1.34.14
and I put me on the intervene button. That way I can just hit enter on that button, turn it on, and then put the speed I need in. I almost forgot to set the flaps, and so I know what speed I need to have for my final approach speed. So flaps 30, 142 knots. So once I'm between 5 and 6 miles from the field, I will slow down to final approach speed, flaps 30, and do the landing checklist. And if it sounds like things happen fast at that point,
Transition altitude.
Altimeter 1019.
things happen fast at that point. And if you are too fast or too high, my major recommendation at that point, do a go around. And if you have to do a go around, the only thing you need to enter in at that point is
CPU number 1
message
message light
displayed.
on. CPU number 2 message
Drag
light on.
required.
Speed
Speed
brake
brake
on.
on.
CPU number 1 message light
runway.
off. CPU number 2 message light off. Spoilers retracted. Speed brake arm light off.
all you have to do is go back to the departure and approach page with Alt A in the CDU. Select your arrival runway with select your arrival airport with
16,000 feet.
right soft key 2, Alt 2. Find the runway you want to land on and select it with right soft key plus whatever the number you want is, and then go back to your legs page and make sure everything's sorted out there, and then try again. Go arounds are not fun because there's a lot you have to do and you have to do it quickly.
15,000 feet.
But definitely doable, and if you have to do one after some practice and really understanding your aircraft and the CDU and everything else, you will be able to do it without much difficulty. As always, I hope this video helps you in whatever way it does, and
$14,073 feet ASL.
I will
14,000 feet.
talk to you more once we are on the ground.
MCP speed row 1 column act RTE lex 1 slash 03 012 186 degrees 17.3 at 1 FedEx 261 slash 12,074 102 Z 240 slash 8115 03 Labor 186 slash
Lights
4,000
State is alive.
013 Labor
NAV1
186
slides
slash
low.
4,000 day. Microsoft Flight Simulator dash 1.34.14.0. 13,000 feet. Burlington, Kentucky, United States. 3.1 nautical miles, 61 degrees, Eastern Standard Time. Distance to destination, 48/008 42. 12,435 feet ASL. $12,000 feet. 11,000 feet. Act RTE Lex Edit Red 03, Point 14702, Labor 186 slash 4013 degrees 19.2 nm. Microsoft Flight Simulator dash 1.34.14.0. Minus 870, 256 knots indicated. 10,150, minus 945 feet per minute. CDU number 1 message light on. CDU number 2 message light on. CDU number 1 message light off. CDU number 2 message light off. CDU number 1 message light on. CDU number 2 message light on. 10,000 feet. Speed brake arm light on.
Passing 10,000.
CDU number 1 message light off. CDU number 2 message light off. Left retractable landing light extend. Left retractable landing light on. Landing on. Right retractable landing light extend. Right retractable landing light on. Spoiler retracted. Left fixed landing light on. Speed brake arm light off. Right fixed landing light on. Left runway turn off light on. Taxi on. Right runway turn off light on. Taxi light on. Wing lights on. Wing on. Logo lights on. Logo on. Minus 1450 feet per minute. Distance to descent, 0/0. Distance to destination, 33/0, 0, 7, 0. $9,000 feet. Edit red only multi-line, 006 degrees 4.6 and at 3, 00213 degrees 1, Z 240/8 186 degrees 7, Act RTE Lex 1/186 degrees 7.4 nm. 1, Z 240/8111, 012, Labor 186/4000 013 degrees 19.2 nm. 1, 186 degrees. Act RTE 186 degrees 2.2 nm. 1, Z 2013 degrees 9. 1, 186 degrees 1.8 nm. 1, Z 2013 degree 2, Labor 186/4000 013 degrees 19.2 nm. 1, Z 240/8094, 186 degrees 1.1 nm. Act RTE 186 degrees 0.8 nm. 1, Z 240 013 degrees 19.2 nm. 1, 186 degrees 0.8 nm. Act RTE Lex 1/2. 186 degrees 0.8 nm. Act RTE 013 degrees 19.4 nm. 8,000 Act RTE Lex 1/2, 013 degrees 19.4 nm. 1, 013 degrees 18.9 nm. Microsoft Flight Simulator dash 1.34.14.0. Distance to destination, 27/00554. Minus 1063 feet per minute. Edit red only, 003, R the 02, 001, Labor 186/4000 013 degrees 17.5 nm. Microsoft Flight Simulator dash 1.34.14.0, 7,000 feet. Dry Ridge, Kentucky, United States, 5.6 nautical miles, 71 degrees. Distance to destination, 22/0, 6230 feet ASL. Act RTE MCP speed column 33 of 10, intervene off button multiple side. Space, rest, 204, indicated airspeed plan, 04. 0, 0, 0, 0, 200. Microsoft Flight Simulator dash 1.34.14.0. 6,000 feet. Minus 1227 feet per minute. 5726 feet ASL. $240 knots indicated. 5566 feet ASL. Distance to destination, 18/00410. Flaps 0, left ram door light on, right ram door light on.
Flaps
Flaps
1.
0. Flaps in transit light on. Flap minus 118 feet per minute, 5174 feet ASL. 230 knots indicated. Flaps at distance to destination, 16/00358. Approach road light on, approach on.
775 up.
5,000
Left
feet.
1.
MCP speed row 1 column. Land. 200 0 0.
630 up.
180.
Left 1.
180. 180. Microsoft Flight Simulator dash 1.34.14.0.
640 up. Left 1.
Flaps 5.
Flaps. MCP speed act RTE legs 1. MCP altitude column 4 4. MCP navigation row 2 column 1 5 of 10. Flaps for CMDD. Microsoft Flight Simulator. Microsoft Flight Simulator dash 1.34.14.0.
Left 1. 435 up. Left 1. 464 up. Left 1. 353 up. Left 1. 332 up. Left 1. 315 up. Left 1. 216 up. Left 1. 169 up. Left 1. 129 up. Left 1.
Distance to destination, 12/0 0
84 up.
40.
Left 1.
MCP navigation, CMDD off button mode plus speed.
84 up. Left 1. 27 up.
Space. Press
Left one.
CMDD light on. Microsoft Flight MCP speed column 3 of 10. Indicate. MCP
48
Microsoft
down.
Flight Simulator. Microsoft
one.
Flight Simulator dash 1 point. Distance to destination, 11/0 0 3.
71 down.
Indicated there's
Left
land,
1.
100 0 8. 60 60. Spell nav light off. Microsoft Flight Simulator dash
Gear down.
1.34.14.0. Gear up. Dot. Gear lever down. Nose gear transit light on. Left gear transit light on.
Flaps
Right gear
10.
transit light on. Flaps in transit light on. Flaps extended light off. Flaps 9.
Gear
Nose
down.
gear light on.
Flaps
Left gear
15.
transit light off. Flaps in transit light off. Flaps extended light on. Right gear transit light off. Left gear lock light on. Right gear lock light on. Right gear light on. Gear down. Dot. Nose gear transit light off. Nose gear lock light on.
A quick
Left gear light
note
on.
here that
Flaps
I
15.
didn't
4,000 feet.
mention a minute ago when I was talking about the approach. You want to have approach mode on no matter how close to that waypoint you have gotten to the second to last waypoint. You want approach mode on no less than 15 miles from the field. That way the airplane will have enough time to capture the localizer and glide slope. So what I said earlier still works, but if you are going to cross that waypoint
2500.
really close to the airport, in this case day per hour is going to be pretty close to the airport, 15 miles is the absolute minimum you can do to turn approach mode on. And that's the distance from the field, not the waypoint.
3,000 feet.
Okay, I now gotta get this plane on the ground, so I will talk once I'm parked at the gate. Enjoy the rest of the video.
MCP speed row 1 cop indicated land 106 42 42 142. Microsoft Flight Simulator dash 1.34.14.0. Union, Kentucky, United States.
Left
1.7
25.
nautical miles, 300 degrees. Flaps 23.
Flaps 30.
Flaps 30.
Landing checklist.
Engine number 1 con. Engine
Engine
number 2
start
con.
switches.
Continuous.
Speed brake.
Speed brake arm light on.
Arm.
Landing gear.
Down.
Flaps.
Set.
Checklist complete.
Distance to destination 5/0 0 1 58. Minus 676. Distance to destination 4/0 0 1 45. $2,000 feet.
1,000.
Distance to destination 2/00050.
Approaching runway 36, right.
500. 400. 300.
Minimum.
200.
1,000 feet.
50, 40, 30,
Speed light off. Speed light off.
10,
Auto throttle servos
On
off.
ground.
Speed
Spoilers
breakout.
report.
Reverse thrust.
Auto throttle off.
136
Auto throttle arm light
knots.
off. Auto throttle arm switch off. Auto throttle light off.
126 knots. 116 knots. 108
100
knots.
knots.
99 knots. 90 knots.
80 knots.
82 knots. 72 knots.
60 knots.
63 knots.
Speed brake arm light off. Speed brake D/N arm light on.
54 knots. 45 knots.
Engine number 1 reverser light on. Engine number 2 reverser light on.
36 knots. 28 knots. 19 knots.
Engine number 1 reverser light off. Engine number 2 reverser light off. Left retractable landing light extend. Left retractable landing light retract. Right retractable landing light extend. Right retractable landing light retract. Left fixed landing light off. Right fixed landing light off. Landing off. Position lights off. Position lights steady. Scope off. Captain's pivot heat light on. Left elevator pivot heat light on. Left alpha main light on. Left temp probe light on. Jump to gate. Engine number 1 auto. A. C. B. G. 91 loaded. Gates list. 53, 56, num 50, 50, 56, 60, 60, 64, 60, 66, 60, 67, 77, part 1, part 10, name, part 1, 72, number, 72, type, gate medium, the news, no 19. Microsoft Flight Simulator dash 1.34.14.0, altimeter, 1020, 30.11 inches, dot, altimeter, 1019, 30.1 inches, dot, spoilers retracted, speed brake extended light on, speed brake D/N arm light off, left master caution light off, right master caution light off, anti-ice warning light off, speed brake extended light off, parking brake on. Flat MCP speed row 1 column 2 MCP navigation column RTE legs 1/1 edit red. Selection removed. Engine number, flaps and transit light off. Left flight director off. Left flight director off. Engine. Seatbelt selector auto. Ground 1. Ground 2. Shock sign HPT. Left runway turn off light off. Flaps 1. Right runway turn off light off. Taxi off. Taxi light off. Logo lights off. Logo off. Flaps and transit light on. Flaps extended light off. Anti-collision lights off. Beacon off. Wind off. Wind lights off. Left aft fuel pump off. Left aft fuel pump off. Engine number 1 aft low pressure light on. Right FWD fuel pump off. Right forward fuel pump off. Engine number 2 FWD low pressure light on. Right aft fuel pump off. Right aft fuel pump off. Flaps 0. Engine number 2 aft low pressure light on. Left master caution light on. Right master caution light on. Fuel warning light on. Flaps and transit light off. Apu generator bus light off. Apu gen 1 off bus light on. Engine generator off bus light on. Electric hydraulic pump number 2 off. Electrical hydraulic pump 2 off. Electric hydraulic pump number 2 low pressure light on. Hydraulics warning light on. Electric hydraulic pump number 1 off. Electrical hydraulic pump 1 off. Electric hydraulic pump number 1 low pressure light on. Isolation valve open. Isolation valve on. Left master caution light off. Right master caution light off. Fuel warning light off. Hydraulics warning light off. Transponder mode ta. Transponder mode XPNDR. Transponder mode off. Transponder mode STPY. Flight deck door auto /pushed in. Flight deck door unlocked. Flight deck door auto /pushed in. Flight deck door auto. Microsoft Flight Simulator dash 1.34.14.0. Left master caution light on. Right master caution light on. Overhead warning light on. Number 1 ignition off. Number 2 ignition off. Number 1 fuel valve closed. Number 2 fuel valve. Airplane service edit red only
CPU
multi-line.
message displayed.
Microsoft Flight G.
GPS
Drive
are
route.
invalid.
Airplane service edit red only multi-line air start unit 2. Ground power 2. Let's request INHBT. 100. 10,000. MCP power. Engine number 1 FWD ground power 2. Let's request INHBT. Airs 2. Let's request INHBT. Air start 2. Let's request INHBT. Ground power 2. Let's request INHBT. Air start 2. Let's request INHBT. Battery discharge light on. Bat discharge light on. Microsoft Flight MCP at 737 cockpit column taxi light off but run left landing left fixed right retract panels preview lights levels collapse F forward collapse 1 of F forward overhead expanded 0 E level 1 electrical collapse batteries of ground space pressed airplane service 1/4 PMDG edit red only multi line 2 let's request INHBT ground power jet 2 let's request INHBT engine number 1 hydraulic air start 2 shocks INHBT ground power 1 let's GPU cart ground power 1 let's GPU cart Ground 1. Less external pit power. Ground power 1. Less GPU cart. Ground power 1. Ground power jet 2. Less request INHBT. Air start 2. Connecting INHBT. Ground power light on. Ground power of cockpit panels. Ground power off button multiple space. Pressed. AC bus. Ground SB. Battery selector combo box on collapsed. Panels preview. Electrical collapse D. Level 0 bottom overhead collapse. Apps 1 to 1 levels bottom extend 0 items. Level 1 engines 1 to 1. App start selector combo box off collapsed. Microsoft Flight Simulator dash 1.34.14.0.
Shutdown checklist. Fuel pumps.
Off.
Probe heat.
Off.
Hydraulic panel.
Set.
Flaps.
Up.
Parking brake.
Set.
Fuel control switches.
Cut off.
Weather radar.
Off.
Checklist complete.
Alright, so to recap what was in this video and tutorial, I went over how I set the IRS position in the CDU. Everything else is basically the same as in P3D.
Field pressure light on.
I had that little snafu with MSFS where it decided to cause the plane to bounce as I put it on the runway. I think it sounds nice. Then I went over the approach and landing sequence. And to totally recap that, since that is a lot of information, and it is worth repeating because it is a lot of information, and if you get it wrong, you will never land a plane, as I've learned. So, you want to look at the second to last waypoint. From your arrival runway. So if you go to the page, on the legs page that has your arrival runway in it, if you've already got that set, in the VATSIM world, setting that early, especially on longer flights, can be a little bit problematic, just because the runways can change, and they often
Field pressure light
do.
off.
But you go to the second last waypoint, which can be found if you go up twice after you've gone to the page with your arrival runway on it. Depending on how long the flight is, that could be a couple pages, that could be 6, 7, 8 pages in on the legs page. Once you've done that, up arrow twice to get to the second to last waypoint. Look at the altitude it wants you at. That will be the altitude you are targeting.
Hebron, Kentucky, United States. 2.5 nautical miles, 298 degrees.
So when FSO says approaching top of descent, put that in the altitude box and hit enter. The plane will descend down to that altitude. You should be at that altitude by the time you reach that second to last waypoint. Depending on the airport you're flying into, you will either reach that last waypoint and get to the altitude designated right around the same time, or that waypoint could be really close into the airport, which it was in this case, and in that case no closer than 15 miles from your destination airport, do a Control A to turn approach mode on. Now make sure you've selected your destination runway with right bracket control plus D in TFM, so you know when the glide slope is almost captured, or at least you are right around where that's 0, so when it's basically centered. And make sure you've set your panels up so you can quickly get to your navigation panel. And I usually just leave that on Command B before I even start the flight, so I don't even have to look for it. And then somewhere between 80 feet below and 0 feet below, it varies, as we all noticed here, because when I flew into Chicago earlier tonight, 49 feet was when I clicked Command B on. And then it went above the glide slope. Coming to Cincinnati, it went from 81 below to, I believe it was either 28 or 29 feet below. I turned Command B on there, and at that point the plane is flying itself. Your big job is to watch your speeds. Like I've said, about 180 knots is good for basically from the time you turn approach mode on to the time LNAV and VNAV turn themselves off. At that point, slow to 160 knots, 160. Gear down, flaps 15. 180 should be flaps 5. 190, 200, flaps 1 is how I usually do it. And then whatever your landing speed is, or should I say final approach speed is, flaps 30. And do the landing checklist. And remember, FSO Next does not have the option of voice and buttons at the same time. Apparently that is going to be fixed. I have it in button mode, which means I have to have all the windows open and I have to type everything in. I don't mind that. It does make a lot more work for me, but it does help because I cannot get complacent and really forget a step. So with that, everybody, quick shout out to my dear Stacy. Quick shout out to all the listeners here on YouTube and anyone who may capture this on any of the podcast platforms. With that, happy flying, everybody, and don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe. And if you would like to sign up for my email list, it's in the description as well as given here. BVI Aviators plus subscribe at groups.io. BVI Bravo Victor India Aviators plus subscribe at groups.io. Thanks for watching, everyone. Happy flying. Until next time.
Hebron, Kentucky, United States.
Keep
2.5
blue
knots per mile.
skies
298 degrees.
up.